Good evening, YouTubers. This is Dan Leone in Plastic Model Building 101, Part 2. In my previous scene, we went ahead and cleaned all the parts. The main reason why you want to clean all your parts is because when the parts go into the molds are coated with an oily substance to keep the parts from sticking to the molds. It's kind of like, I'll give you a prime good example. A cookie sheet. Anytime when you put cookies and cookie dough on a cookie sheet, unless you have a non-stick pan, you always want to spray a like Pam or whatever non-stick substance to keep the cookies or cake or whatever you're baking from sticking to the pan. Okay, so same thing, same kind of concept on here. What we use to clean our parts with, now some people use Dawn, which is a mild dishwashing detergent soap, which you can get at any hardware store, or you can go to any supermarket or dollar store. It's not going to cost you all that much. It's going to cost you maybe, the most expensive I've seen is like maybe $2 or $1.50, $2, $3. Just depends on what store you go to. Here in Houston, Texas, we have Kroger, we have H-E-B, we have Randall's. For those of you who have different supermarkets, you'll know what I'm talking about. Well, I went ahead and cleaned the parts with this right here. This is Plastic Prep. It is a Testors alcohol-based cleaner. I would not recommend using this around flames, and also you might want to keep this out of reach of little kids because they might think it's a strawberry drink or something like that. They drink it, and next thing you know, you're rushing them to the emergency room. So you don't want to do that. Anyway, so I went ahead and cleaned all the parts, and as you see, even when you take the parts out of the bag, if you ever run your finger, you'll notice that the parts will have like an oily residue. That is the mold release agent, and that's what you don't want. You want to have a good bonding of your glue and also a good bonding of your paint as well. Even when you get through putting the model together, any unpainted surfaces, you also want to swab down the plastic prep again, because the oil from your hands, it leaves a residue, and that can also mar a paint job as well too. So you always want to kind of keep everything nice and clean. Now, as I mentioned before, that the Japanese, especially Mitsubishi and Nakajima, they use different type of interior colors. The interior color, especially for the landing gear doors, landing gear interior, and also inside the fuselage and cowling, they use this metallic blue, which is also known as Otaki. This is X13. This is a Tamiya color. It's acrylic. So I like working with acrylics because acrylics are so easy to clean up after. So it's always good that. And not only that, but I also have Model Master acrylic. This is one of the best paints, bar none, that Testors puts down. So gunmetal. This is for your engine cowlings and your machine guns and so forth. You might put that. The cockpit itself was painted cockpit interior green, XF70. This is XF71. This is for the cockpit, and this is basically for your landing gear door interiors and the landing gear bays and so forth, and also the interior of the fuselage and the cowling. So Okay, so we're going to go ahead and start. We're going to jump right in, and we're going to start. Our painting process. Now, some people like to airbrush, but I like to paintbrush. You can do it either way. I like to paintbrush. You know, it's, even though I think it's a little bit more work, but I think it's a little bit more satisfying. So anyway, so here's our parts right here, and I got my paintbrush right here, and we're going to go ahead and start our interior painting. So what I like to do is I like to go ahead and shake up my paint, and you might also want to stir them up too, in case if you have to stir them up. And I just do it like this. I like to paintbrush my interior parts because normally with an interior part you're not going to really see them all that much. Most model judges, they want to look at the appearance of the exterior, like the paint job and so forth. They also, I mean, don't get me wrong, I mean, they do look at the interior, but mostly look at like the construction, the appearance of the model. They also look at make sure everything's properly aligned, and they also want to look at make sure that everything is right where it's supposed to be. Now, of course, you're going to get some of these judges that are real diehard, real nitpicky about, oh man, this star and bar is crooked, and oh man, this number's crooked, and oh man, I don't know if that's the right squadron, oh man, if that's the right marking, and you know, you're going to get those kind of judges too. So anyway, but what I like to do is go ahead, I'll just put one coat of paint, as you can see on this one right here. And I also like to paint, the model, the parts on the sprues, so that way better handling, and you don't have to worry about any type of and you know, getting paint all over your fingers and so forth. So and not only that, but it gives a good part of dry too. So I'm doing the seat, as you can see. I'm doing the seat. So as you can see, I've done the seat, and I'll do the instrument panel and also the bulkhead. So anyway, once the parts are painted, I also have a friend of mine made me some wash to put in, because you want to look like, you want to make the airplane look like it's been around. You don't want to look like it's fresh out of the factory. You want to look like it's been beat up, been around, because there's one thing about maintenance facilities on Japanese airstrips that were practically little to non-existent. So a lot of the paints were chipped off, flaked off, and so forth. So anyway, so we will continue on interior painting. So continue on painting, and once we get everything together, we'll move on to the next step. And when I do that, I'll do the next episode. So this is Dan Leone, Plastic Model Building 101, and thanks again. Good night.